introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, uh, so, uh, Being an international audience here, I'm going to start by introducing Grab for the audience here. Um, so, uh, the primary motivation behind founding Grab was to address the problem of safety concerns for women. One of our co-founders, who was originally from Malaysia, while used to narrate several of her personal stories where she would often be terrified at the event of taking a taxi back home after working till late in the night. She would often pretend to be on a phone call with her mother so that the driver is kind of she's very safe from the driver. So those were the kind of GPS during the yesteryears. But we are kind of blessed in Singapore. We have a very safe environment. Nevertheless, the problem of imbalance between demand and supply is a major issue. If you have been to some of the popular destinations in Singapore, you would note that there's a long queue waiting. You might have to wait for 15 minutes or more than that to get a taxi. Earlier, before the advent of ride-hailing, you would have to actually call and then wait for, pray for all the stars to bless you with a taxi. Besides all this, we also wanted to enable and millions of our micro entrepreneurs, whom we also call as driver partners. So from this humble beginning, Grab has become one of the leading ride-hailing platform in Southeast Asia. We are now operating in 235 cities. We have clocked more than 2 billion rides over the last several years. We have 10 million mobile downloads. Just to give you a context of the kind of growth that we have seen over the last years, I joined Grab around April last year, and at the time we were so proud of the fact that we were operating in 60 cities, and now it's been just about 18 months later, we are 4 times bigger than that. So what is the connection behind Grab and AI? So let me give you a quick introduction into AI. So AI is all about teaching computers to do tasks that humans can do very well. So for example, humans can recognize faces, detect faces, understand languages, detect objects, and so on. Right? But machines can do things at a much faster pace, at a much greater scale. So we want to teach machines some of these cognitive skills, such as memory, recognition, synthesis, understanding, and attention, so that they can help in our day-to-day tasks. So loosely speaking, AI is nothing but a mathematical model that tries to mimic a human brain. So what has AI got to do with Grab? Well, as I mentioned, we have done about 2 billion rides. There's troves and troves of GPS traces. We do about 6 million rides every day, and we have about 4 petabytes of GPS logs. And this data is so rich that if you just trace out the GPS on the map, it would give you the road network automatically. So in fact, the map that you see here is just a raw trace of our GPS trajectories. But not just this, we also have both structured and unstructured data. So structured data means the OD pairs, which are detailed point-to-point destinations taken by passengers. And unstructured data could be images, chat logs that people exchange with their drivers, or it could be voice messages. So how do we use all this bunch of structured, unstructured data to the benefit of enriching our platform and giving a very smooth ride-hailing experience to our passengers? So, given the context of location world, so there are 3 different aspects that I will focus on in this talk. So the first part that we actually look at is how we enrich our points of interest. We need to have the most accurate points of interest, or these are the places where our passengers get picked up or dropped off. So we need to have the most accurate locations of these points. And secondly, we also need to have the most accurate maps and understanding of our traffic infrastructure so that we can build better estimations of our travel times, of real-time traffic and real-world events. And the third aspect is we also need to understand more accurately and at a much faster rate where our drivers are so that we can match the best ride for him. Note also that there's various levels of tolerance for each of this. So for example, you might have a slightly higher tolerance for refresh rates for POIs, maybe a few minutes for travel time estimations, but you need to have the driver locations in a matter of a fraction of seconds. Now, these three aspects will form the building block for various of our services, be it our individual ride-hailing, or be it our shared services such as GrabShare, Shuttle, Hitch, and Coach, or be it logistics where we do partial delivery and now in GrabFood. So let me take a few of these examples and then show how we actually use location intelligence in various of these services. So a few months back, whenever a person books a Grab ride, you would often immediately open the notes part of of the app, or you would get into a chat conversation with your driver to say, hey, I'm in gate 3. And then the driver would ask several questions, and sometimes we have even seen people exchanging information about their attire, saying, okay, I'm wearing red shirt, I'm in this particular place. And this is actually happening because we don't have accurate information of our point of interest. So points of interest, as I mentioned, are the places where drivers get to meet their passengers, is slightly different from the way we see it. So for a traditional app provider, giving an indication of where the building is at the center of the building is quite sufficient. But in our cases, that's probably not enough. We need to have a detailed information of where are the exits and entrances for these points of interest. So what do we do for solving this problem? As I mentioned, we have billions of records of end-to-end trip data, and these are very, very detailed in nature. So we know exactly where passengers got into their taxis and where they get off from their taxis. So we use these troves of data, apply machine learning algorithms, and we understand that actually the pickup actually happened somewhere around this corner. As a result, this actually improves the customer experience. I think most of you who have used Grab would have spotted these green dots around popular destinations. These are called entrances, and they actually give a clear idea of where the pickups and drop-offs are. Here is another example of how understanding locations is very important. At Grab, we look at cancellations extremely carefully because they take a toll on the efficiency of the platform. And an important aspect to this is to understand the preferences of our drivers. Where do they get to, where do they want to go at what particular time? Let's consider an example here, and here is driver Mr. Lim, who usually, based on our data, we find that he is around Yishun or Sembawang area, somewhere around the northern part of Singapore, every day around 5 p.m. Maybe because he has to attend to some of his personal chores, or maybe he's going for a shift. And after observing this, let's say he's around 4:30 in the evening. If he's in the central business district area, there are two alternatives. alternative request that comes in. One is to go to Changi Airport for a drop-off, or the other one is to actually go to the northern part. Because we know the driver preference based on his trend, we actually look at this data and then understand, hey, if I give him a job that goes to Changi Airport, he is probably not going to accept this. Therefore, I'll give him a job that takes him very close to his destination that he prefers. And in fact, this is a very popular method that we follow, actually to help drivers to commute to their locations, and this in fact improves the match rate of the jobs that we get. Another part of how we use machine learning as well as location intelligence is in demand forecasting. This again comes from the fact that we need to provide, we need to actually help our drivers commute to the places where there is very high demand. So we use historical trip data, traffic, real-time traffic data, and also aspects such as real-time weather and so on, and use state-of-the-art machine learning algorithms such as LSTMs, which are known to give very good performance in language modeling and time series prediction, and we predict demand upfront in time. So let's say, for example, you observe a very recurrent peak in demand around a particular area. It always it's wise to actually position drivers in that place so that customers get their rides that they need. And this we have observed many times in Vivo City that there is indeed a recurrent peaks of demands every 15 minutes. And when we dug into the data, we found that ferries that come in actually create this spike. And this information is actually shown to the drivers. So in what is called a heat map. So the red zones are areas where there is a spiking demand. But we need to do this upfront in time. So we need to do this so that drivers actually get to their locations much in appropriate time. Here is another example of a real-time incident where we have the Northeast line breakdown, where we use this algorithm for supply positioning. Another aspect of the same location intelligence is in predicting passenger preferences of where the passengers typically want to get in and get out. So for example, if you are a regular commuter and you know that you are always taking a taxi at a particular time, it's always much easier to come up with an estimation of your preferred pickups and drop-offs. So in summary, there are three aspects that we always talk about at Grab. So at one part, we have passengers, then drivers, and Grab as a platform, and we see location data as something that connects all these three dots. So we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the space. So we have a new joint collaboration with NUS. It's called Grab NUS AI Lab that recently was launched. And there are 3 out of 5 projects that are aimed in solving problems related to location intelligence. We're also looking at computer vision and recommendations, which are again closely tied with location intelligence. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Jagan. I wish we had more time for you.